welcoming you back to the desk of Caddicarus. Join us as we partake into a new instalment of Current Quickies.
Hello, my duckies, and welcome to another spooky October Current Quickies. And today we're going to be talking about Bioshock the Collection on PS4. Phew. This collection here of 3 awesome games is bloody fantastic, but there are a couple of technical kinks here and there that stop me from calling it absolute perfection. Other than that though, are you guys ready to go back into the sickening depths of Rapture and to the dizzying heights of Columbia? Well, I hope you're ready, because I am. I'm going to talk about...
Oh man, I've always talked about how much I love Bioshock as a series, but with this collection being able to relive all 3 adventures in one compact, easy and best looking and best playing package with all DLC included, they're now better than ever, even if you played the games before and especially if you haven't. To talk about the games individually for a second, well, Bioshock 1 is one of my favourite games ever made. And apart from a few things that looking back I wasn't too fond of, such as the repetition of the hacking minigame, for a first attempt for a game as ambitious as this, it's just as balanced with difficulty and money systems, fun, absorbing and fucking disturbing as it was from the first time I played it. Being able to turn off the quest arrow and just lose myself into the creepy and twisted world of Rapture and experience its excellent story with plenty of deep and interesting characters while exploring around to find more genetic upgrades, lore deepening and plenty of interesting things to see was a total joy, and that fucking twist still gets me after nearly 10 years. And the level design and meta-narrative are just as incredible as each other. Oh, and the gun combat against the docile and gullible yet horrifying Big Daddies is still thrilling. Every character in their respective environment you meet is just as horrifying and memorable as the last. Plasmids and the way they shake up the gameplay and affect other enemies in different ways are badass, and I don't actually think the ending portion is that awful like everyone seems to think. Bioshock 2, despite being a sequel that no one ever asked for and not many people liked, actually turned out way fucking better than I remember it being. Does it have as interesting a story as Bioshock 1? No, and are you a little bit too overpowered with too much money too often despite fighting way more aggressive and difficult enemies as the game goes on? Yes, but I don't think for a second those excuse an otherwise fantastic addition to the first game, even though it is very newcomer unfriendly. It not only further expanded the lore perfectly for a direct sequel with new characters and all, but if you ask me, the presentation and level of detail gone into what Rapture would be like many years after the original clearly had a lot of thought put into it, and not just with the huge enemy variety, how different the designs are and how they attack you. It too is a game that I just turned the quest arrow off with and just got lost and absorbed in with all the unique areas and oodles of additional gameplay mechanics, completely different weapons, and the fact that plasmas were not only usable at the same time as gunning, but could be upgraded to devastating levels unseen in the original. Being a big daddy in itself is awesome, but yes, this does mean the overall plot, pacing, and enemy threat goes a little bit out the window with Bioshock 2. But for all the elements that didn't work gameplay-wise in the original, it was tweaked and completely streamlined to make it, I personally think, the tightest in the trilogy from gameplay alone, with better hacking, a way cooler enemy research function than just taking pictures, along with better plasmid uses, more enemies that use more plasmids against you, and even body upgrades getting more slots and on a broader scale for more customization options instead of just strict categories. Oh, and harvesting Adam with little sisters turning the game into an intense non-stop protecting bullet fest is cool, and those big sisters are badass. Bioshock Infinite I like as much as Bioshock 2 I think overall, but for totally different reasons. But do I think it's as good as everyone else says it is? I don't think so at all. The story does have its holes, the details aren't 100% there for all the messages it wants to express. I find it the most straightforward, linear and unatmospheric game in the whole series, and there are just so many more limits and stepbacks to not only the gameplay, with Handyman just being an over-aggressive, uninteresting bullet sponge, and character upgrading being cash only and restrictive, but also with this story and how some elements of Bioshock 1 and 2 just appear here for no other reason than just it's Bioshock and they need to be there. I know it sounds like I'm shitting on it for no reason, but not at all. It's a great game with great fast-paced combat, a tight script, a couple of awesome mechanics like world tearing and the skyhook, memorable characters, and a fun story with another great twist despite all of the holes it has. I just don't think it's as good as the rest of the world thought it was at its release. And yes, as far as the package goes itself, this is all delivered to you at a 15% discount to most AAA games with every bit of DLC and hours upon hours worth of incredible and engaging gameplay and some of the most realized, terrifying, grotesque, and detailed worlds in gaming history, all at 1080p, 60 FPS with updated textures and character models and the definitive way to play the whole series on a console. Unfortunately, for as great as the whole package is, though, I do have a couple of problems to talk about on the PS4 at least that really dampened, no pun intended, the experience just a little bit. As of me making this video, I finished Bioshock 1 and 2 and I'm currently halfway through Infinite, and I can tell you with glowing satisfaction that Bioshock 1 is a flawless remaster and easily worth the price of admission alone. With Infinite, I do find myself running at 60 FPS 90% of the time, but dropping whenever loading new areas or an extremely intense gunfight. But with Bioshock 2, Jesus, well, it looks the part and plays the part, certainly. But the major problem with that port is that it actually crashed on me 3 times, sometimes causing me to lose up to an hour's worth of progress. And what's worse is that none of the crashes had anything similar to them to make them happen, and they were all at totally different points in the story. Luckily, saving the game every half an hour or so lifted away the stress. However, it was still annoying and very random. But like I said, the excellence of Bioshock 1 is absolutely worth the price of admission alone. So the fact that you even get 2 other games that look and play absolutely beautifully with every bit of DLC packaged into it is fucking gobsmacking. Whether you played the games before or not, do yourself a favor and pick this up now.
So I'm giving the PS4 version of Bioshock the Collection a 9 out of 10. If it weren't for the Bioshock 2 crashing, I'd be screaming to the hill saying that this was a 10. But until that's either patched out or fixed or whatever, on PS4, I'm gonna stick with a 9 right this second. But hey, the value for money you get for 3 amazing games, all in one, like 1080p, 60 FPS, all DLC packages, it's like a tenner each for each game. It's fucking ridiculous. Even if Bioshock 2 crashed like 3 times on me, it's still amazing. Go fucking get it. Phew.